UFC 310 is live in Las Vegas, and man, do we have a good one this weekend. So what we're going to do here today is I'm going to give a little breakdown on each fight on the main card, starting from the bottom, going to the top. Yeah, I'll break them down, and I'll give you my predictions on how the fight's going to go.
I'm not happy, by the way.
Alright, starting off with the first fight on the main card, we have Nate Landwehr versus Korean Superboy Doo-Hoo Choi. And man, to sum it up in one word, chaotic. I mean, you have Nate Landwehr coming off a first round KO win, fighting Doo-Hoo Choi, who, 80% of his wins are by KO. So I think it's safe to say that if you're betting the over this weekend, it's not going to hit. It's safe to say that this one's probably going to end early. I think you're going to see a classic Nate Landwehr crazy fight, and Korean Superboy is not a stranger to the crazy fights either. I'm not going to go too far in depth with this one, just expect a crazy fight. If you're asking my opinion on who I think is going to win, I do think it's going to be a Nate Landwehr KO, possibly early. But it's going to be fun as long as it lasts, so really enjoy this one, guys. Moving on, the next fight we have Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie, a fight no one really asked for, and a fight that really doesn't make sense on the main card, especially when you consider you have Aljamain Sterling fighting Movsar Evloev on the prelims, which is essentially a title eliminator. Whoever wins that fight could be fighting for a belt next. So it's a bit weird to have two guys who aren't in the title picture at all fighting on the main card above them, but I don't know. Shout out Aljamain Sterling.
Insert picture of me and Aljamain Sterling right here.
The first thing I want to talk about with this fight is Kron Gracie's been off for a year and a half, and you guys might remember his last performance against Charles Jourdain was pretty sad to say the least. I mean, the guy was butt scooting around the whole cage, looked like he had never thrown a punch before, and he's been off for a year and a half. Is a year and a half layoff enough time to develop striking? I hope he's hitting pads. I hope he's hitting mitts, because he can't keep thinking that he's going to win these fights being a guard specialist. Guard specialists are so rare these days. I mean, you do have guys like Paul Craig who are able to get away with this, but guard specialists are very rare, and it's mixed martial arts. You have to be able to mix the martial arts. And to this point, Kron Gracie has not been able to mix the martial arts. That being said, Bryce Mitchell really isn't a class striker as well. He's also a grappler, which doesn't help Kron really either, because he's not going to be able to submit Bryce Mitchell as easily as maybe he thinks he can. I don't even know if he'll be able to get Bryce Mitchell to the ground. I think what you're going to see here is possibly a very, very ugly, striking slugfest. Could be an all-out war. This is weird enough to be fun. It's weird enough to be fun. All that in mind, I am going with a Bryce Mitchell decision. I don't see him getting submitted by Kron. Definitely don't see him getting knocked out by Kron. I think a safe bet is Bryce Mitchell by decision. I'm saying decision because although, Kron Gracie's striking is pretty bad, Bryce Mitchell has 0 knockouts on his resume. I don't see him getting one against Kron Gracie. So for that reason, I think a Bryce Mitchell unanimous decision is probably the way to go. Moving on, we have another fight that no one really asked for, but at least this one makes sense. You have the rematch between Alexander Volkov and Ciryl Gane. Now, while this is a rematch, I do think both fighters are in completely different spots now. In the first fight, Ciryl Gane had his way with Volkov. I don't remember Volkov really having any big moments in that first fight, but that being said, Volkov is in a completely different spot right now. Volkov has won 4 in a row against really tough guys. You have Jarinzo Rozenstruik, Tai Tuivasa, names like that, and he's been on a roll. And Ciryl Gane's kind of been the opposite. Ciryl Gane hasn't fought in a year and a half. Yes, he's coming off a win, but the fight before that was the John Jones layover and die move. So we're kind of not sure where Ciryl Gane is at this point in his career. There's a lot of talk about maybe him falling out of love with MMA, doing movies, doing all these things that are not MMA. So this is a good test for Ciryl Gane to be like, nope, I'm here. I'm still here. I still want to fight, and I will take out one of the best guys right now. Now, what's funny is, despite this year and a half layoff, Volkov is a 3-1 dog, basically. And that's crazy. Volkov has been on a roll, and he's looked really good, and he's a different fighter than what happened in the past. Something that I really want people to take a look at is Gane's kick-heavy game and what Volkov was able to do in his fight against Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa threw a kick at Volkov. Volkov caught it, and he wrestled him into an Ezekiel choke. We know the blueprint for Gane is out. You want to beat Cyril Gane? You just wrestle him. So is this something that Volkov can do, especially off Gane's kicks? Does he even have good enough wrestling to use this blueprint? All in all, this fight is interesting. The line should be a lot closer. So if you guys want to bet on Volkov, that's a money pick. There's money to be made on Volkov this weekend for sure. I want to go with Volkov, but I can just see Cyril Gane getting a decision win. Hey, I think he can bounce around quick enough, and I think he can move around and be hard enough to hit. So for that reason, although I really want to bet Volkov, I'm going to go with a Cyril Gane decision. Moving on to the co-main event, we have undefeated 18-0 Shavkat Rakhmonov versus undefeated 15-0 Ian Garry. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what you want as an MMA fan. Two of the hottest prospects in the game finally going at it. Someone's O has to go. How can you not be excited for this one? What's funny is after doing some film study and going back and looking at their last three opponents, they're actually very similar. Shavkat coming off the win of Steven Wonderboy Thompson, Ian Garry coming off Michael Venom Page win, both striker-heavy opponents. Before that, they both fought Jeff Neal, and before that, they both fought Neil Magny. You have enough film on these guys to really get a good look at who they are and what their tendencies are. My thing is, which fighter will be able to implement their game plan the best? Will Shavkat be able to grab Ian Garry? Will he be able to take him down? Will he be able to keep him there? These are all questions you have to ask going into this matchup because it's a hard matchup. It's a hard one to bet on. I like Shavkat early. I think it's possible he could get him out of there in rounds 1 or 2, but if it goes over that, I don't see a guy like Ian Garry fading. That guy is so confident, and he's so well-rounded. I think the movement of Garry, the longness of limbs of Garry is going to make him really hard to grab and keep a hold of and keep down. But the line doesn't reflect that. Again, we have another 3-1, favorite in Shavkat. Okay, now time for my pick. I have no basis to say this. I can't even really explain to you guys why I'm picking this, but I watched Ariel Helwani's interview with Ian Garry this week, and I just can't see the guy losing. I think I'm going Garry KO. I can't believe I just said that, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm going Ian Garry KO. In the main event, we have Alexander Pantoja facing off against UFC newcomer Kai Asakura. I think this is one with low casual appeal because most people don't know who Kai Asakura is, but I think for the hardcores and just the people who like MMA, this one's going to be a banger and you know it. I won't pretend like I've watched a ton of Kai footage. I won't even pretend like I've watched an entire Kai Asakura fight, but I've seen highlights. The guy can crack. I think a lot of people out there are thinking it's a bit crazy to give Kai a title shot off of UFC debut, but the guy's good, and this division isn't that deep, so why not give a guy like Kai a title shot? The one thing that I've been really considering while, taking notes on this fight is durability versus power, because that's what it is. You have a very durable guy in Alexander Pantoja and an absolute firecracker in the fist of Kai Asakura. The guy hits hard. I saw a picture earlier this week of a guy he punched and his jaw was completely shattered in half. Think back to the Alexander Pantoja fight the last time he fought Brandon Moreno. He was getting tagged. He was getting hit hard, and he almost looked sluggish and tired because of how hard he was getting hit. You have to ask yourself, can he take those same hits against a guy like Kai Asakura? I don't know. Then again, you can't really have power if you don't have the technique behind it. And not to say that Kai Asakura isn't a technical fighter, he is, but he's not as technical as Pantoja. And he hasn't fought anybody to the caliber of Pantoja's opponents. Pantoja has really fought everyone at this weight division outside of Demetrius Johnson. He is legit and he's so well-rounded. This fight is going to be gnarly. You have power, you have durability, you have technical abilities on both sides. As for my prediction, I do see a Pantoja win. I just think he's too technical, too strong, too durable to lose to a guy like Kai Asakura. Not to say Kai Asakura isn't good, but he's not on Pantoja level. Well, there it was. There was my picks for UFC 310. I gave a little breakdown as well. Let me know what you think. Did you hate my picks? Did you love my picks? Do you want me dead? Let me know in the comments below. And enjoy the fights, everybody. Have some fun. Be safe. UFC 310, Vegas. Deal with it.